Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Today, almost a month on from Blade Show, I'm still not yet ready to show you what I bought. Sorry about that, but since I don't get, two videos, I want to make sure that I have all my opinions right in line the first time that I record for those things, so you have to wait a little bit longer to see what I got at the show, but hopefully it'll be worth it. What I do want to tell you about is an experience that I had at the show where I got to try a very requested balisong and a balisong that I have been very curious about, both from Nabalis. I tried a Nabalis Crescent and I tried the new Nabalis Cheese, and I just kind of want to discuss them in this video because I have had so many requests to check out the Crescent specifically. And I'm here to tell you that the Crescent does live up to the hype. I think that the Crescent, honestly, okay, I'm going to be totally honest with you. The Crescent didn't floor me. For all the people that have been saying it's the greatest thing ever, I can see why people think that. But I wasn't as impressed by it as other people have been. Not to say that it's bad by any means. I think the best way that I can describe the Crescent is it's the classic Nabalis sub 100 lineup, but it has G10. Not many of Nabalis' balisongs have G10. You're looking at things like the Bird of Prey, or if you're looking at some of the older releases, things like the Trident. I almost forgot what the name was. So it's not really something that is a super common thing in their lineup. So the fact that that exists in their sub $100 range now is very nice. It's a cool thing to see the Crescent exist. And it's a create with Nabalis design. It's a very clean design. I do like how it flips. It just kind of didn't make me super interested in purchasing one at this point because it does just kind of deliver a very similar experience to the other sub $100 Nabalis balisongs, with its main draw being the fact that it is a G10 and aluminum balisong at that price. Unfortunately, as you can maybe tell by my collection, I'm not generally the biggest fan of G10 in the first place. I mean, there's absolutely exceptions. I have a few G10 balisongs in my collection that I enjoy quite a bit, but by and large, G10 isn't generally a selling point to me. It's kind of more of something that I look at as something that I will have to overcome in terms of liking that balisong. So when looking at it that way, the Crescent didn't really have any selling points to me specifically. I love the design. It looks cool. But if I want that flipping experience, I have things like the Cheese and the Cat and the Teflon Vulp, and I don't have to deal with G10. That being said, it did everything that you could want it to do. It would be like, if you're wondering, would you recommend a Crescent? I would say yes. Like if you're looking at a Crescent, you're like, oh, I like that. I like the look of that. I like the spec sheet. I want to flip that. You will not be disappointed at all. It is good. It's very good. It is classic Nabalis, like decent flipping at under $100. It just doesn't really speak to me specifically. Maybe if I get another chance to try one. Blade Show is kind of crazy, and I admittedly didn't spend a ton of time with one. But the time that I did spend, I kind of went, yeah, this is kind of what I expected, and then we moved on. That being said, it did the tricks that I wanted it to do. Rollovers were nice and sticky. Chaplains felt fine. Fans felt decent. I didn't fan on it too much to be able to specifically recall how fanning worked, but I don't remember hating anything about the Crescent, so that's enough to give it good points in my book. Even if I were to try one again, I don't think I would really hate it. So yeah, the Crescent, it's good. It is a very good value, very good flipping performer, very good value proposition. I just wouldn't hold your breath for me actually doing a video on one because I have so many Nabalis balisongs at this point, and I really don't feel the need to get another one. But we'll see. Never say never, I guess. Now, the other one that I tried from Nabalis' lineup at Blade Show is one that oh my gosh, excuse me, that I personally have been very, very excited to try. Maybe not excited. Maybe excited is the wrong word. Curious to try. Because recently, Nabalis upgraded all of their 6061 aluminum balisongs to 7075. And I went over in one of the videos that I did where I mentioned this. I think it was like the cat video. That 7075 is a denser material, so you're going to get heavier handles to begin or to end with. And it's going to be... it might mess up the flipping experience. So I was like super interested to check out and flip a new cheese to see if I would still like it. Thankfully, I do, but I'm a little bit baffled by some of the changes that they made. We specifically took, it was a group of us at the Bite Handle Rave. We took the prize cheese before they gave it away. We were careful with it and we didn't just steal it, but Dasuko allowed us to flip that and compare it to my cheese. So obviously my cheese, being Teflon, whenever you lube it, it gets gunky and it gets a bunch of like black shit everywhere and I hate it. So I typically don't lube my cheese. So one big point to the new cheese was tolerances. The new cheese felt and sounded way better. But looking past those differences, I'm happy to report that the new cheese does not ruin the experience of the cheese. I didn't really think that it would, but there's always a chance. The one interesting thing about it, though, is that the handles were actually a different size than the handles on my cheese. My cheese's handles are a little bit thinner than the new cheese, which was interesting because if you have a heavier material, I would have guessed that they would have made the handles thinner on the new one rather than the old one. So ultimately, the new cheese it did feel different. Like there was a difference there. The balance was slightly more pushed towards the handles. But when I say slight, I mean slight. I think most people, if you aren't super experienced in comparing balisongs and figuring out balance and stuff like that, you might not even notice the difference. I noticed a difference in fans and choker fans because of the slight increase in the thickness of the handles. And I noticed it wanting to hug my fingers a little bit more with the slightly heavier material. But other than that, it wasn't super noticeable. There was a group of us and we passed it around and we A/B compared with the old cheese. And it was a pretty split decision. You'd hand it to one person, they'd say, okay, I prefer the old. Then the next person would prefer the new. Then the next person would prefer the old, and then new, and then old, and then new. I think we got up to 3-3 split before I handed it off to two more people who then preferred the new cheese. So the final tally that I remember was 5-3 in favor of the new cheese. But all of that to say, if you've been, for some reason, slightly nervous to get a cheese because of the material change, don't be. It's still the cheese we all know and love. It's enough of a difference that I'm not going to go seek one out, which I was kind of worried that if I really liked it, I would have to go buy one and then I'd really want one in my collection. Thankfully, I personally do prefer the old cheese, but not enough for me to never want to buy a new one. Not enough for me to never consider buying a new one. Not enough for me to not recommend a new one. I still absolutely recommend the new cheese. It's still my favorite beginner balisong by far. I just have a slight soft spot for just the tiny, tiny little differences that they have on the old cheese that make it just 1% better to my tastes than the new cheese. Your mileage would vary. I think most people wouldn't even notice. So I think that covers it. A little bit of a stories from Blade Show, some balisongs that I tried that I can't show you specifically, but hopefully the cheese was a good enough representation of both of them. Yeah. I told you guys I would try a Crescent, and I did. Very happy to have. So now, I don't know, people are probably going to still ask me to make a full video on one. We'll see. I wouldn't hold your breath. So you guys can stop asking in the flip the script comment sections. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.